Hi again then guys, and welcome to a redux, or an update if you will, that you probably weren't expecting, but it's one which I definitely wanted to get around to. We pretty much had to after the 1.25 patch, because this is a top 10 countdown that I'd already done, and that video was still accurate up until 1.24, but since the new vehicles arrived in 1.25 and now of course are carried over into 1.26 as well, we had to redo this because one car is gone from the list and a brand new one is in there, and it's in a pretty good position as well. It's actually 7th on this list, which to come out of nowhere and get that immediately is pretty cool. So of course, just like last time, this is considering every single car in the game, and also where applicable the car is dropped to its lowest possible weight, including upgrades. So kicking us off first of all in 10th place is the car that was in 9th before, which is now bumped the Tomahawk, of all things, completely out of the top 10. Of course, before 10th was the Tomahawk GTSR, so now there are literally 0 Tomahawks in this whole list. Very few top 10 lists will actually not feature a Tomahawk, so that's an interesting turn of events, especially when you see the car that actually bumped it out. Next up then in 9th place, being kicked back yet again, just like the Alpine, by the newcomer, we have the first of 2 Red Bulls, the X 2014 Standard at just 650 kilos. Next up in 8th place, another car that's been relegated back one position, the Daihatsu Vision GT version of the Copen. Perhaps surprisingly, the normal Copen is not on the list at all, but this one is because it's even lighter than that car at just 600 kilos. And 7th place, of course, brings us to the whole reason why I had to remake this list. The Mini. And this is probably the only occasion that you'll find where a Mini will beat a Red Bull or a Tomahawk in any kind of list, apart from maybe affordability, perhaps. But it's very cool that the Mini has burst onto the scene and immediately not just got on the list, but also bumped the Tomahawk out of the list, which is pretty awesome, at only 556 kilos, barely over half a ton really. Next up, moving to more familiar territory, in 6th place we have, just like it was last time, the Red Bull Junior. The X 2014 Junior, of course, weighing in at a full 100 kilos less than its bigger brother. Next up in 5th place, dropping another 10 kilos but adding a whole lot more power, is of course the fictionalized formula car that is known as the F1500 TA. Then, next up in 4th place, retaining its position as such, we have essentially the slowest car here, and one of the slowest cars in the game as a whole, the Fiat 500. But one thing that it's really got going for it is that curb weight being less than half a ton is impressive, no matter what way you cut it. Next up now in 3rd place, moving on to the serious podium, and also the first car to break under £1,000 with a curb weight of 992 pounds, aka 450 kilos, we have of course the very futuristic and pretty extreme Chaparral 2X. And if 992 pounds just isn't light enough for you, then of course you can go for this, retaining its 2nd place finish, the Honda Project 2 and 4, which drops another 100 pounds compared to the Chaparral at just 893. Don't expect it to be as quick though. And of course, rounding off the list and retaining very firmly its position as first place, by far the lightest vehicle in the game, and no, it's not a car, but it is a vehicle, so it's eligible as such, the Racing Kart 125. And as I believe I mentioned last time, I don't believe this one will ever be beaten as far as this list goes in GT Sport, unless of course they add an even smaller go-kart. And to put it into some perspective as far as how light this kart actually is, if I were in the game, I would still be in 2nd place. That's how light this kart is. But overall, that's it for the top 10 countdown of the lightest vehicles currently available in GT Sport, and hopefully we'll revisit this list in the future, because it will be pretty cool if we do, because that means we'll get some other lightweight vehicles. But that's it for this countdown overall. Of course, you can click here on screen to see tons of other countdowns that I've done, and of course stick around on the channel to see plenty more. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.